All right, let's jump into this one. I think there's a chance this deck has a little bit too much awkward tension in it, but we're going to give it a crack and see how it goes. So the main thing of concern here is we have Bedlam Reveler here, which says this card costs 1 less to cast for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. Has prowess, and when it enters the battlefield, you discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. So Bedlam Reveler is a little bit at odds with Kroxa Deathshunger here. So Kroxa Deathshunger has the escape mechanic, as many of us I'm familiar with, which requires us to exile cards from our graveyard in order to escape it from the bin. So Kroxa eating our instants and sorceries is going to lead to a little bit of awkwardness with Bedlam Reveler in some situations, I think. So something, while we play the games, we're going to want to keep track of. I would not be surprised if the conclusion at the end is, hey, we want to do one of these things and not both of these things. As always, you can type exclamation point deck in chat to get a full link to the deck list. Not going to go through actual every card in the deck. If you're watching this on YouTube in the future, it's always posted underneath. Past Bedlam and Kroxa, we've also got Young Pyromancer here as an additional threat with lots of instants and sorceries. Then we've got a couple of copies of Liliana, the last hope here. We got Thrill of Possibility doing its saddest faithless looting impression possible from similar to Mardu Pyromancer. This deck played Opt with 22 lands be okay? Yeah, probably. If you had a lower curve, and you have a pretty low curve, and like that was a cantrip that lets you see more. I did miss a couple in there. We had Mikey for a year and a half. We had Hairball for 17 months. We had Suki Poof. Welcome back, folks. Happy Wednesday. Remember, I'm not going quite as long as I originally estimated at the start of the week today, because I have an elusive construction contractor coming out at 3 o'clock today to take a look at my room and put together an estimate for me. Supposed to have a second one coming out later this week, hopefully. And we'll hopefully get on someone's schedule to get the work done. Hope it doesn't get pioneered. I mean, to set a low bar, we have Fatal Push and Thoughtseize. We've got like Damping Sphere and Leyline on the board too, so we should have an okay time. Why do you think this deck needs Rotting Registrar? What problem is solved by playing that card? What would you cut for it? It's worth noting that even if you added Warren's delegates to Bernie's delegate count, they would still be behind Biden. But it also is hard to know if most of the Warren voters were voting Bernie, like what that would change the delegate counts in certain states where she wasn't viable. Yeah, a lot of people don't vote based on policy. Correct. Yeah. Warren not hitting the threshold means she didn't get delegates. So I'm hoping that everybody that is wanting to vote for progressive values understands what Warren is doing in this race at this point. And we'll see a little bit bump for Bernie and down for her moving forward. Sure, so something similar to the Sultai Delirium deck then. That's basically what the Sultai deck does, but with, it's really unfortunate they drew another land. They have Stage plus Lotus Field now. I'm pretty sure I lead on Pyromancer here, because I just need to get pressure going. And then if we're fortunate enough to draw a land next turn, we'll go Collective Brutality, take your Hidden Stirrings, Fatal Push or Grazer, attack you for 2. And then, like, we've had a little bit of disruption, and this is a clock, so, like, we might have a shot here. We'll touch of awkwardness here. So what if I like full mode this Collective Brutality? We go like this, this, tap these. If I discard this and this, that'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4. This would only be 5 cards. So even if I do that, I can't still escape this next turn. Correct, Korluski. In fact, we might see some of the media, and especially the Trump campaign, pivot to attacking Biden more again, because they basically are on attack mode for whoever the perceived frontrunner is at all points. So, like, Bernie was the perceived frontrunner for a while, which put him on the defensive position. And when that changes, you better believe it's going to change on who they're attacking again. Thanks for the 2-1, Corey. I appreciate you helping to make up for some of the undesirables we remove. Yeah, I agree with that, Croissant. I agree with that. So we get to do this. And then next turn we get to crack the fetch and escape Kroxa, so that's nice. We have a real shot here. Yeah, so you don't understand why they're saying that, though, Grief. So Biden would make Trump look good in a debate because Biden is largely incoherent and randomly forgets things. Like, say what you will about Bloomberg, like, his policies are awful. He's basically a Republican with a D next to his name, but, like, he is, like, he can talk, right? Like, to call a spade a spade. I'm casting this just to get a token here. I'm electing not to escape the Kroxa this turn because they played Blast Zone. So if I escape Kroxa this turn, they're going to take Blast Zone to 2 and then kill my Pyromancer and my Kroxa. So it's not a very particularly good use of my time. I think I just continue to pressure with the 4 tokens that I have here. I hit them on a 3-turn clock. I hope I'm wrong, Grief. I hope that if Biden gets the nomination, he can beat Trump. You know? Thoughtseize was a great draw. I mean, an Instant or Sorcery was a good draw. I don't know that Thoughtseize in particular just made a 1-1 was a good draw. You're misunderstanding, Shine, the critique I have of Biden. Biden, like, randomly saying wrong words and, like, losing his train of thought constantly. That's the critique I'm giving. Yeah, as someone who's willing to admit when he is wrong, perhaps, no, not even perhaps. I think people like myself have overestimated how much Bernie is capable of inspiring people under 30 to vote. I did see the metrics that youth turnout was down. And that's an important metric. Wolfwood, thank you for the 17 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Granted here is good, if only because it puts a 1/4 into play that just, like, stunts all my aggression. I agree, Shine. Things are not looking good. I agree. Like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I appreciate that, Wolfwood. Thanks for keeping me around. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. And now I just, like, kind of have to escape this. Just gotta, like, force them to pull the trigger. They have this blast zone, so, like, all this is gonna do is, like, bolt them for 3 and, like, make them crack this, but it is what it is. They're at least out of cards, so if I, like, I guess, and this is the awkwardness now, so, like, I elected to escape this, but, like, if I draw a Bedlam Reveler now, I can't cast it anymore. I think a big part of it, Blender Bottle, is that, like, especially if you're watching this channel with how I discuss things, I think there's definitely a what's it called? Bias. There's a bias among people on this channel for, like, we have an echo chamber, right? Like, a lot of people who are sub 30 or especially sub 25 or sub 22, the 18 to 22 range, they just don't care, right? Like, historically speaking, we're seeing what happens from a historical trend, which is that they just don't show up in that age group. Yeah, I did hear there were a lot of Texas polling station issues, but that's kind of to be expected, right? Like, Texas closed an incredible number of polling stations in the last 8 years. So if I roll back Liliana, I can escape Kroxa this turn. I can also plus Liliana and then Fiery Temper the Fae of Wishes. If that's useful, they've got 2 cards in their hand. So we'll go Kroxa here, back to our hand. And then with the 6 land draw here is actually pretty okay. So I get to go Kroxa, make you discard a card. This dies, play the land, escape Kroxa, make you discard a card. Then, like, we're actually in a pretty okay spot. Liliana here, fueling our graveyard, giving us a real chance to stay in this game. Wait. Okay, so this puts them to 3. They have no cards in hand. Hopefully they don't draw Underworld Breach and then kill us. I don't think Underworld Breach kills us. None of the cards there have been draw cards. I think we're gonna sneak out of this one. Yep, they're just dead to the attack trigger. Yay, I agree, Mikey. I think it was a pretty big mistake on Wizards of the Coast part that they announced that there will be a ban update, but then didn't announce what formats the ban update is happening for. Definitely think that should have happened. Gonna board out a bunch of my removal here and board in some permanent base disruption. A couple libations can interact with their enchantment on occasion. Semi-occasional reminder here that if Magic gets rancid, there's always streaming Morrowind. I mean, Magic as a whole is in a pretty good spot right now. I think Magic's pretty okay at the moment. Standard and Historic are both great. Even Pioneer's been mostly serviceable. By the way, for people that don't follow me on Twitter, that's good to know. Just as a heads up, for the sake of clarity and transparency, making sure people hear it, I am changing my pricing structure for Magic Online moving forward. All Magic Online formats will be $50 for subscribers if decks want to get added. That will, I assume, decrease the volume of decks I get, but the flip side is it should mean that anybody that makes a donation for a deck on Magic Online, it should get played relatively quickly if there's less of them. It also means I'm taking any Magic, or I'm entertaining the idea of any Magic Online formats. So if you want to submit Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Pauper, I will entertain any of those formats for that price tag. The first deck of the morning is just going to become a Magic Online format time slot. So we got a number of Pioneer decks in the queue still. I think I've got like 8 or 9, maybe a little more than that. I've got, as after this morning, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Pioneer decks left in the queue. 100 card hero. Thanks for the 3/4 of a year. I appreciate that. Welcome back. So this hand doesn't have a threat in it, but it's got Leyline and it's got Agonizing Remorse. And it's got Thrill possibility too to shift through some cards. Let's go ahead and keep this. Yeah, and part of the reason why I said I'm gonna take any format is because I have heard from a number of people that Modern in a post-Mox Opal world is in a reasonable spot. That doesn't surprise me. Mox Opal was a rancid card that should have been banned a long time ago. So willing to take a peek in there and see what it's looking like. Last time we played Modern on stream, what was it? Urza was a deck with Mox Opal. Hey, look, chat. I drew my sideboard card, but then they drew their sideboard card. Feels Modern, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and take Supreme Verdicts here, I think. No, it doesn't, Doc Prof. This is game 2. We're up a game. Literally no indicator on the screen of what's going on. So I get to play Kroxa here, make them discard a card, and then next turn I get to claim it. I get to claim Fame it and like bring it back into play and smack them. Seems pretty sweet. Is it bad that I didn't even know Mox Opal got banned? Nah, not at all. Yeah, and part of my plan too is if I don't get enough deck submissions at $50 a deck to fill 5 Moto decks per week, I'll probably cut down to doing 3-ish Moto decks per week. But then I will also just pick to fill in for those days. So we'll play some slightly better decks on average. Is the historic ranked queue ever coming back? Yeah, when they initially announced it, they talked about how the historic ranked queue would return when, wow, we might actually die this turn, huh? When the next anthology drops. So March 12th, we should be getting the ranked queue back. And I expect that to be the pattern moving forward. We'll have it so there's new set release, historic ranked queue goes away, just standard ranked queue, anthology drops, historic ranked queue comes back. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised people feel the way they do after what's happening to Sanders and Warren and everything like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's Dems that stay home if Bernie misses the nom. I mean, there'll probably be Dems staying home regardless of who gets the nomination. But that's just what it is. The reality of the situation is, like, the Democratic Party should be 2 different parties at this point. But because of the rigid, awful 2-party system we have, it's just not possible. Oh, wait, this doesn't work, right? Oh, I'm so dumb. I was thinking that because this came back from my graveyard, it would stay in play, but that's not how that works. Okay, I'm very silly. I missed a 1/1 here. I was thinking I could fame this and attack with it this turn, but that's definitely not how Magic works. It's still worth taking a card out of their hand. My sequencing this turn would have still been the same. I just simply should have played this first. So I still would claim this and bring it back. I just should have also done this first. In my head, I was going to get to fame this and attack with it, but that's not how Magic works. This isn't just if it entered from your graveyard, it's if it was explicitly escaped from your graveyard. Thanks, V-Ball. Looks good. I think the one thing paying attention to all the cycles this year has taught me is that there's a very big difference between like, I feel like there's a pretty stark generational divide, not only between like millennials and the people before them, but like from the fact that like millennials grew up playing like first person shooter games and like having someone random on the internet like scream profanities and call them mean things. Like the Bernie bros are mean mindset. Hey, no worries, Raymundros. You've got a sword next to your name because you've been here for over 12 months, so you'll have that regardless. Also, as a reminder, it looks like you also have an Amazon Prime next to your name. So if you plan to keep Amazon Prime after your move, that Amazon Prime does give you a free Prime sub every single month as well. So if you're keeping that, a really easy way to continue to support my content, but without paying anything extra, is to drop the Prime off every month. But either way, you'll still be in here and chat with the Mod Sword. Yeah, a lot of people like, yeah, that's why Twitch is the true racket. Like, it's the reason why, one of the reasons Twitch stays number one. It's because like free Prime subs are busted. and on my end, the Prime sub is literally identical to the tier 1 sub. So anybody out there, if you're tier 1 subbing and you have that Amazon Prime, feel free to switch over and use the Prime. You're not contributing any less to me. You still help keep me around, and like, it saves you some dollars. Probably dead here. Really kind of showing the power of the opponent's deck, huh? They literally had no spells in their hand when this turn started, and we lost the game. We're dead, right? Is this deterministic? It's probably not quite deterministic, but it's like pretty close. Thanks for the 3/4 of a year, Slyman. Thanks for the reminder. I totally forgot to re-up my Prime. I appreciate you keeping me around. It's tough. I don't know that that's really out of touch, Brimstone. And like, I think it's especially hard to like make strong comments about like what millennials are and like people younger when like they don't vote, right? Like one of the reasons why Biden did so well last night is because the youth vote was actually down from my understanding in a lot of places. I'm gonna keep this. Like, that last game was an example of just how powerful their deck was, right? I had a Leyline, I had discard spells, I, like, disrupted them, I had a clock, and then they just, like, untapped, drew a card, and killed me with no other spells in their hand. If Matt Nahas thinks a combo deck should be banned, I usually agree with him. Thanks for the 14 months, Benson. I appreciate shipping the Prime this way again. I mean, like, while the election being on a Tuesday is very silly, there are lots of opportunities for, like, early voting to happen as well. So I don't know that, like, Tuesday's a full reason to blame, necessarily. No, based on exit polls, Frigley, and exit polls tend to be relatively accurate. From my understanding. Yeah, we have 2 hate cards, but I don't have a clock here is the issue. So, like, really need to find, like, a Young Pyromancer. do it. Thanks for the 22 months, Swiggy. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, Prime's hooked into everything these days. Even the Raid Shadow Legends game that we've been playing. I've been playing a bunch on mobile, and some other subs have been playing too. That has free Prime loot. Yep, the opponent is playing Team or Breach. Hey, look, it's a card that's going to kill my hate cards. Yeah, definitely. So less than half the delegates have been spoken for. There's still a lot of voting to happen. If we were like 2/3 of the way through or 3/4 of the way through, there's definitely a path to 51%. I hope yesterday and how Warren's campaign acts after yesterday is a wake-up call to progressives that were thinking about still supporting Warren to perhaps realize that Bernie's the only route to a progressive nomination at this point. Any vote not for Bernie is a vote for Biden at this point in the election. They took Thespian stage here. You target player sex lane. I don't know about that. But yeah, Blaststone is not easy to interact with, that's for sure. We're at 3 cards in our bin. We need to get to 6 cards in order to re-escape the Kroxa here. They haven't put a... This is actually a good draw, because it's a little bit of disruption, but then it also lets me cast 2 spells this turn and start filling my graveyard up. Well, the super delegates don't cast a vote until the second ballot. So, if someone hits 51%, super delegates don't matter. Now, I've removed Eat to Extinction from the current list that I'm playing today, Zaozu. I don't think the list in the queue is updated. But yeah, I'm gonna try out a couple of Wrinkle today too. Is it Fae? Why is it Fae? I guess Expansion Explosion doesn't matter for a little bit. I kind of want to take Pour over the pages. Just linked your Prime account to your Twitch. It's worth the time to do that. Free goodies. Okay, I think I'm going to take Pour here. Master Neo. Playing Kisa's combo on Pioneer. Bernie Sanders supporter. Not the happiest person right now, but at least I can return and sub for the content. Thanks for the half a year. We're going to get to some Kisas here in a moment. Well, a little bit more than a moment. About an hour and a half. I mean, real advertising speaks to what people experience every day, right? Like that's a reality people experience every day. So it's a sad reality, but yeah, but like if Faye is interacting with my hate cards, it's not doing something else, right? I guess Kroxa's like not even that good at the moment. Just because, like, they want to blast zone for 2 already anyways. Well, I mean, last time I took Pour over the pages. Am I supposed to do that again? I think I'm supposed to do that again. The fact that our threats are The fact that our threats are the same mana cost as... The fact that our threats are the same mana cost as our Damping Sphere is real awkward. Thanks for the 38 months, Incendium. It's a really long time. Welcome back. Because the draw spell is one they need to actually chain through their deck to win the game. The tutor, until they have like 8 mana with the wish, doesn't really do anything. Like, until they're like threatening me with Ugin, I think I'm not super worried about that. Yeah, the Lotus Fields almost assuredly aren't their sideboard. Because I'm bad with money, I'm donating for Modern Drone. Modern Drone would be a fine submission. As a heads up, though, I'm still a touch backed up from these Pioneer submissions on Moto. So a $50 donation almost certainly won't be played till next week. I've got 1, 2... Of the 8 Pioneer decks left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 5 of them are over 60 points at the moment. One of my hopes in increasing the cost is that will decrease the average wait time a bit there. I don't know. Whoever Biden's running mate is, hopefully they're coherent and reasonable, so that way if they have the 25th M for his dementia, we'll get someone decent still. Poorly spent buddy sounds very Judd to me. Well, we need all Pioneer Day or something? Nope. No, we don't. Negative. Zero desire for that. I'm not adding Magic Online decks particularly quickly. So the ones that are in there can wait another week to be played. Yeah, that's perfect, Zajad. When am I playing Dye the Beard? Don't know at the moment. Should be before the end of the month. Man, that's a main deck Ugin, huh? Yikes. This game's been a good example of it doesn't really matter how much disruption you have if you don't have a clock while you disrupt. So they have an Unravel the Aether to deal with this Leyline. I'm feeling salty this morning. Thanks for the Biddies Beetle. Remember, it's not over. Still a lot of votes to be cast. Even if we do get stuck with Biden, perhaps he'll pick someone like Abrams for his VP, and we'll get someone that's like, you know, younger than 100. Yeah, the true silver lining from last night is that Bloomberg, after spending $500 million, fell incredibly short. So at the very least, I'm proud of my fellow Americans for ensuring that happened. I think it's really important for the future of elections in the United States to, like, send a strong message to billionaires that, like, our elections are not for sale. I'm gonna go ahead and just 2-mode this. There's a chance this just misses, because, like, they have Ravel, they have Vizier, and they have one card I don't know. So, like, if the one card we don't know isn't an instant or sorcery, this doesn't do anything. Maybe it's right to just draw with Castle here. Greece doesn't have Amazon. That's so sad. Alright, perfect. Wait, weird. Why didn't they cycle this? They should have cycled this, right? Because they could have drawn a card I couldn't take. Hey, Zajad, thank you for the incredible support. We'll get that added. Do they have 2-day shipping at least? We don't have 1-day shipping out in the cornfields, but we have 2-day. I think there's a real chance Biden could pick Warren as VP. And that part of the reason why Warren is staying in to block Bernie a bit is because she has a deal for VP. Because she doesn't have a real path to the presidency at this point. It's the court basis why we don't have 2-day shipping or 1-day shipping. Thoughts on the price of hand sanitizer? Oh, I could have escaped this. I'm so dumb. I forgot that this put enough cards in my bin. That's awkward. I didn't look at the price of hand sanitizer on Amazon. Did it get absurd? I assume it got absurd. I should have escaped Kroxa last turn. The fact that I didn't escape Kroxa last turn could give this Jace time to take over. It's a pretty big mistake. The current Pioneer format is modern with worse mana. Thinking about shocking to play Fae of Wishes here. Hand sanitizer's almost sold out. Wild. Yeah, the fact that I failed to escape this last turn could easily lose me this game. I'd have been attacking for lethal this turn. They wouldn't have just been able to play Jace. I just gargle bleach because that's what the internet told me. If you're at home and you're considering gargling bleach, I'd encourage you to watch John Oliver's segment on the coronavirus before doing so. All right. And again, like, we won that match, but, like, the end of it, I don't feel like I actually beat my opponent. I feel like I just kind of clenched and they missed. Does hand sanitizer do anything against viruses? It does. So what you need to understand is this CV-19 is very similar to a lot of other things that have existed for a long time. It's just a new strain, and it's highly transmittable. But washing your hands regularly, using hand sanitizer, avoiding touching your face so you avoid taking germs off of surfaces and then putting them directly into your orifices is a way to avoid contracting it. Thanks for keeping me around, German Space Ace. I wouldn't be here dinning out without folks like you. Hey, Azumael, thank you for the 21 months. I think most people kind of passively touch their face quite a bit. I know thinking about consciously making an effort not to has made me realize how often I do. How many primaries are left? There are a total of, you need 1,900 votes to get the nomination, right? And only 700 are spoken for thereabouts at the moment, like 800 or so, I think, 700-800. Likely Sultai Delirium, but not guaranteed. I'm going to go ahead and kill Jace here before I can provide some card selection for them. Yeah, there's definitely a chance. Bernie's campaign is not over. Bernie's campaign's not over any more than Biden's campaign was over after he fell flat in the first 3. Delegate, sure, whatever. Same difference. Yeah, with 3 lands and not playing, opponent being 3 lands deep now and having not played a green source yet, probably an inverter variation at the moment becomes more likely. Yikes. Maybe I should have done this first. But I wanted the ability to cast a Fatal Push or a Thoughtseize if I drew one. We did win the first match. Now they get to flip this Jace and Thoughtseize. I guess if they Thoughtseize us, it's actually pretty good for us because that lets us escape Kroxa next turn. No, Biden finished about 70 delegates up, I believe. We don't have 100% full numbers, but I believe Biden finished a number up. I think I just last hope here and roll her back. Hey, PNF Hunter, thanks for the 10 months. Welcome back. Yeah, 71 delegates is the number I've heard thrown around a couple times now. Three cards in their hand, but they did just cast a Dig Through Time, so the quality of those cards is likely incredibly high. So, I think I'm actually supposed to Thoughtseize before Pyromancer here, because if they have a removal spell, I want to clear it. Well, confirmed inverter. It is in fact a hand. Wow, they kept Fatal Push? Okay, sure. I mean, I guess they want to be able to Fatal Push this Pyro, but then also Fatal Push the Kroxa when it comes back. Does that make sense? The good news is next turn I get to escape Kroxa and then down tick Liliana, pick Pyromancer back up, play Pyromancer. And like I have 11 cards in my bin now, and Liliana's gonna add one more. If they invert and you discard their Oracle, do you just win? They do. But the problem is that if you take Inverter, or if you take Oracle while they still have Inverter in hand, they just play the Inverter and shuffle the Oracle back into their deck and then they win. Which is not great. Oh, I'm so dumb. You know what I should have done? I forgot I had a Fame in my bin. I could have Kroxa'd and then given it haste here, and then attacked the Jace down to 2, and then they wouldn't be able to Fatal Push me. That was definitely the line. Forgot I had a Fame. Gives 2 attack and haste. What spurred my political engagement? If I'm being completely honest, part of the reason why I was able to be politically engaged this cycle is because of the incredible amount of privilege that I have. I'm in a position that puts me much better off than a lot of other people my age. A lot of people my age don't have a job that pays them a living wage. They don't have extra time to spend on luxury devices, or have the time to commit to becoming informed and caring about politics. So we're actually in a really great spot, because I get to Fame now. And then I get to kill... Oh, they're just dead, actually, right? This is 11-13. They have no cards in hand. Yes, it's actually just lethal. Hey, Maury P. Thanks for the 10 months. I appreciate this. Welcome back. Actually just attack for 11. That's really strong. You know, I don't know about these Bedlam Revelers. They seem pretty mediocre in this deck. We haven't drawn them yet, but like we keep like escaping Kroxa and being in positions where like if we draw Bedlam Reveler, it just like isn't castable, which doesn't seem great. I don't know if this is a Leyline of the Void matchup or not. I feel like the answer is probably yes. I feel like if your deck is able to apply meaningful pressure, you're supposed to board this card in this matchup. And like our best chance to beat them is to run them down. I don't even know that Ox is better, just because like I don't think this deck can support more strains on its graveyard. So like we have 4 Kroxa. I'm not sure we need more leverage out of our graveyard past that. Okay, Fatal Push on the bottom. Probably Fabled Passage. This is game 2. We are up a game. Those are words to live by. Data doesn't lie, but people lie with data. Yikes, that card's like really good against us, huh? I guess Kroxa will take some cards out of their hand before it gets Legion's Ended. And we're actually in a situation now where, because the only card in their graveyard is Jace, I actually don't want to play Leyline of the Void. Because if I play Leyline and they draw Inverter, they actually... Oh, wow. So another small sequencing mistake on my part here. So to finish my thought, if I play Leyline, no other non-Jace cards will go to their graveyard, and then they can just play Inverter, draw it, flip Jace in their deck, and then play Jace and win. If I would have played an untapped land and Fiery Tempered them last turn, I would have been able to Bedlam Reveler on my 4th turn, which is kind of a big deal. But sets me like a full turn behind in terms of getting set up here and getting pressure into play. Bedlam Reveler actually looking like a great threat here because it is a card that doesn't die to Legion's End. I think I'm just taking Dig Through Time and hoping to strand their awkward removal and kill them with Bedlam. So their hand is Legion's End, Fatal Push at the moment. So I get to escape this. They'll Legion's End it. And then I get to play Pyromancer as a follow-up. Seems fine. So we get a 3-for-1 out of this Kroxa, right? Like Kroxa took 2 cards out of their hand, and then they're gonna spend a 3rd card taking it off the table. That attack is super good for us, because it means they're not going to block this Pyromancer this turn when we attack with it. Yeah, feeling like we're in a pretty good spot here, huh? Unless they have, like, a Languish. Get to smack them for 8 here. Have a lot of pressure in play. Yeah, just did. Is there any reason Yarok Field is in the queue? Yes, we are speculating that Field of the Dead is going to get unbanned based on or unsuspended, not banned, unsuspended in Historic, based on the fact that Virulent Plague and Ghost Quarter are both being included in the next Historic Anthology. You are spectacular, Niv. Yeah, that felt super reasonable. This looks like keep. I'm still pretty far off of escaping this. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that one. Am I? Well, it's been Brutality. Hey, nice mana symbol. Congrats on your finish. It is, Niv. It is. Heard a number of people who are people whose opinions I feel are reasonable, talking about how Modern feels reasonable at the moment post Mox Opal. So yeah. And again, like I said, part of the goal is that while the price is higher for Moto formats, it also means your Moto deck should come up quicker now. So I still have a little bit of a backlog from the bulk of Pioneer decks I accepted at the lower rate, but I expect that with the rate being 50 a pop to submit, we'll probably see wait times get to like under 2 weeks. Likely within a week. It's been a while since I had Pioneer submissions in general, so we'll see what things look like with accepting some Modern and Legacy as well. I had one Modern submission today for Jund already. Thanks for the 10 months, Prime. Yeah, I mean, much like when we talked about, like, when Modern's gotten bad in the past, right? Like, playing casual decks into other casual decks is reasonable, and we did just beat 2 of the big bad in this set. Yeah, as always, I reserve the right to reject anything for any reason, but yeah, I will entertain the idea of Legacy decks for $50 donations as well. So, anything on Magic Online is up for grabs for that price tag. The morning time slot is going to become just the Magic Online format time slot. Yep, Liliana's nice here. Lets us attack through this Thraben Inspector cleanly. Keep applying pressure. We've hit the goulet of combo decks here, right? The 1-2-3. We had Inverter, and then we had Breach, and now we're playing against Walking Ballista combo now. So we'll do this. We'll attack Gideon for 2. If they don't block, we'll K-Command, shock him, make them discard a card. Thanks, Gentleman Red. Will do. Make another token, kill your Planeswalker, put you to 1 card in hand. While they are down to 1 card, it's worth noting they do basically have a card on the board. In this clue. They're hyper aggro deck in this format to run down these combo. Yeah, actually, earlier this week we played a green-red aggro deck in Pioneer that felt very reasonable. Like I said too, like, I don't think these formats are strictly bad so much as just like, when formats get to the point where Pioneer adds, it's just like, brewing becomes more of a challenge, so like playing off-meta decks becomes a little bit harder on average. I think there's still good games to be had in these formats. It just makes my normal business model a little bit less successful. So if the normal model doesn't apply, trying to adjust a little bit and account for that. Yeah, the black-red aggro deck that we played wasn't particularly good, though. Hey, an anonymous sub-gifter for the 2nd time today. Thanks, whoever you are, for your generosity. So, let's Kroxa here, make them discard their last card. I think I'm actually going to tick Liliana back here, because I think it's pretty important that I close this game out. I don't think her ultimating is going to be reasonable. I could just decline here, which lets me put this into play next turn. I think that's the line, huh? I think we just like down tick her to mill 2. Thanks for keeping me around, Gindy. I wouldn't be here without folks like you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna down tick this again. Is it over? Oh yeah, this is exactly lethal, right? Because this does 3 because they have no cards in hand. Then we attack for 6. Well, I can't. Kroxa Fame costs 2 to flash back, so I couldn't haste, but they were just dead to the Kroxa trigger. I think Libation's actually pretty good here. Dealer's choice to get those shillings. Thank you, Terran Terra. I appreciate it. I think this is an all Doomblades on deck matchup. Just want as many ways as possible to kill all of their stuff. So Libation and Abrade seem good. They don't actually kill a lot of my stuff, so I think Claim Fame's probably a little mediocre. I think Chandra's too slow in terms of removal spells in this matchup. Let's submit like this. Hey, Bloomberg's dropping out. Yay! Happy Super Tuesday news. Imagine just being like spending an unfathomable amount of money for most of the population, and then just like Super Tuesday happens, you're like, nope, off it. Just gonna write that one off. Half $500 million poorer. I don't know how he's gonna be able to afford to eat. Like, you know, he spent more on his campaign than he would have lost in taxes to like Warren or Bernie, most likely. Yeah, I think that's 100% it. He dropped because he feels safe about Biden now. Bedlam Reveler excites me more than Kroxa in this deck. Bedlam's been kind of whatever. Kroxa's been really good. Kroxa's been ending games very quickly for us. So they have Baffling and a Banishing Light. Hoping to draw an untapped land here so I can go Pyromancer plus push their creature and get a token before they kill my Pyromancer. Perfect. So they still have Banishing Light in their hand, which means even though I'm going to make it 2 cards in my bin for this Kroxa here soon, it's not going to be super useful. We need a deck that has Kroxa and Bantu so we can have Trader, Gator, and the Kroxa dial. Yeah, I don't know that we can really beat Heliod. There's a reason why we Thoughtseize that on one. Like, if we can't keep the board completely clear, okay, maybe we can keep the board completely clear. I don't know, like the castle makes that difficult though, right? Sorry if this has already been talked about, but what are your thoughts on people who early voted and then their candidates dropped out? Well, I mean, it sucks for them, but like I feel like if you voted for Amy or Pete, if you voted for Amy, Pete, or Warren in Super Tuesday after seeing how the first states ended up, you probably weren't going to be on a very good trajectory regardless. Libation here unfortunately makes him sacrifice an enchantment, so it doesn't guarantee Heliod dead. It will net me a 3-3 though, so hopefully they attack with this 1-2 here, while Libation them get a 3-3, eat their 1-2. No, of course Warren didn't drop out. Warren appears to have zero intentions of dropping out. Warren exists to play spoiler at this point. She was not in it for progressive value, she was in it to block Bernie Sanders. Which is unfortunate. Like I mentioned earlier, both Pete Buttigieg and Warren make me feel pretty betrayed from this election cycle. I donated to both of their campaigns before I donated to Bernie because I liked their messaging, and they both pivoted and moved and kind of showed, in my opinion, that they weren't in it for their messaging. They were playing a game. Seems like Warren's votes would go to Biden. Not strictly. Anybody who's voting based on progressive values, I genuinely believe there's people still voting based on progressive values that are voting for Warren. And people that are voting based on policy that vote for Warren would vote for Bernie based on policy rather than Biden. But there are a number of people who don't just vote based on policy. They vote for people based on a myriad of other reasons. I got the middle burrito now, so I can finally fill my stomach. Excellent. That's an Abrade. So, do I attack with Dino and trade Dino plus Abrade for Tomic here? Or do I thrill of possibility to get extra cards in my bin so I can eventually Kroxa and maybe find a hard removal spell for Tomic? I have 1 Dreadbore, 3 Fatal Pushes in my deck. What if I start by attacking with both? Let's do that. I think I'm okay trading. It's important to take the devotion off the table here, I think. I mean, to be fair, how does it compare to 2016 though? So presidential election years almost always have higher voter turnout than non-presidential election years, correct? I believe that's factual. So hopefully it's higher than 16. Still more. Good. So voter turnout in general is up. It's worth noting that youth voter turnout, people under 30, was not what we were expecting it to be. That was not up. It was higher than 08. That's good. That's great to hear. It was almost double 2016 and 30% higher than 08. That's great. So, I could escape Kroxa, but if I escape Kroxa, they're just going to Banishing Light it. So I think I thrill here on the off chance we can find a Thoughtseize before we escape Kroxa. Feels magic, man. Feels magic. If I draw a brick again next turn, I am just going to escape the Kroxa. I don't think I can afford to not use my mana. Just going to have to hope to draw spells after that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if the impending threat of climate change doesn't increase youth voter turnout, nothing will. I'm just apathetic and nothing's going to change that. So we are just going to lose this next turn, but it does 2 for 1 them at least. They have to discard a card here when it comes into play, and then they spend a removal spell on their next turn. So the castle gives them an endless supply of things to lifelink with Heliod here. Yeah, Philly. Clinton, Bush, Obama were all 2-term presidents. Oh, was Bush 1? Was Bush 1 the first Bush wasn't? Okay. Good to know. Whenever a non-token, so this doesn't work with Bolster at least, but these still work with Lifelink. Maybe I'm supposed to trade here, so they couldn't make this a 2-2. Feels like this game's over. Yeah, let's try game 3 on the play. Yeah, me too, Percy. The high voter turnout implies that that's likely the case. I think it's important to remember that, like, we are contained in a largely millennial echo chamber here. And I think the people that tolerate me talking about politics on occasion like I do are probably a little bit more engaged than the average person. Like, my average viewer age is between 25 and 34, and historically speaking, and based on the data last night, people in that age group largely don't vote. Yeah, game 3 against the mono white deck here. Pretty okay start with Young Pyromancer in the opener, but if they have like a baffling end for it, well, it'll die before we get any value out of it. Yeah, I mean, Magic's like kind of an expensive game on average. So, like, it's hard to have too much spending money for Magic if you're, like, especially if you're in your teenage years. Especially competitive Magic or, like, real formats like what we play. We're just gonna get Walking Ballista. Feels bad, man. I have K-Command here at least, though, so we get to, like, shock a creature, pick Pyromancer back up, or make them discard a card, pick Pyromancer back up. No, that's not the story at all. Biden is just the frontrunner. Biden is not uncatchable. We pivoted from Bernie having the most delegates to Biden having the most delegates. If you're someone in a state that's yet to vote, you should still vote. Bernie has a real shot at the presidency and the nomination. It's also good to understand that you know, if you really want to see Bernie in the White House, you should do more than that. You should knock on doors, you should send text messages, go to Sanders' website, and click the links to learn how to get involved. Hey, Zanman, hope you're swell. Yeah, we do non-standard every morning. So we're basically doing 2 non-standard decks every single morning. So we're doing 1 Magic Online deck, a lot of Pioneer, but we're also going to be mixing some Modern and stuff back in. And then we're doing a Historic deck, and then we're rolling into Standard. We might actually start doing even more Historic. There's currently more Historic decks in the queue than any other format at the moment. And the response on the sub-survey was that 80% of... I think the sub-survey was up to like 600 responses. With like 80% saying they liked Historic. 616 responses, which is probably pretty close to the max we're going to get. 616 responses with almost 81% saying they were subbed for some Historic, and 27% of people saying Historic was currently their favorite format to watch. CNB Meadow, thank you for the 22 months of support. I appreciate you keeping me around. Welcome back. Is it crazy to just clear out their board here? I feel like it's not. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Historic developing more. I think Historic has a good chance to be really popular in terms of content if it gets a little bit of support and like interesting cards, just because like a lot of people like non-rotating formats. That's why they tolerate Magic Online, and a lot of people also like Arena, so like that's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think I'd rather Kroxa a card out of their hand here rather than play Dreadbore this turn, because this way if I draw an untapped land next turn, I can escape the Kroxa. That's fair. I could double removal spell to feed the Reveler. I've heard a number of people say modern feels reasonable at the moment. I don't know. I literally haven't played a match of Modern since they banned Mox Opal, so I don't really have strong feelings. There's also a good chance that Modern sees adjustments on... Also a really good chance that Modern sees adjustments on Monday as well. Again, Wizards of the Coast, if you're out there, you really need to announce what formats you intend to make changes in when you announce an update. I think Pioneer is likely to never get paper support. I think if you're hoping for that, it's probably an unrealistic expectation. Yep, yeah, they announced this past Monday that there will be a ban list update the following Monday. Yeah, Historic, whatever. The format that's only digital. Yep, super rewarded for holding Dreadbore here. I might just want to breed this token, honestly. It feels more likely Historic or mutating to Pioneer over time. You mean in terms of cards available or in terms of play patterns? Because I think in terms of cards available, that's just not true. Historic's going to grow in both directions, whereas Pioneer only grows in one direction. Bedlam Reveler looking good here. I think 3 of this card might be too many, but 2's felt pretty sweet. Fused Rhodos, nice. Yeah, I elected to just play with the epics. I've been using Sky Touch Shaman in a lot of my compositions for Dungeons and Clan Boss, and she's been really good. Rhodos looked mostly like an arena champ, and my arena composition is pretty reasonable. So we'll get to escape. Oh, God. Oh, gosh. Do I just pass now? High K is super reasonable. I've got a High K almost completely booked, and 6-starred. She's on my arena team. I think I just draw 3, right? Like, neither of these cards seem super useful. Whew! Oh. Oh, but still my heart, chat. But still my heart, chat. I heard that, Mikey. Better late than never. Historically, how does WotC keep non-rotating formats fresh? They don't. The point of non-rotating formats is not to keep them fresh. In fact, I would argue Wizards of the Coast's recent attempts to keep non-rotating formats fresh was a huge negative overall. A lot of the issues surrounding modern and recent formats, I think, can directly be related to Wizards of the Coast attempting to keep them fresh. What am I doing with this K command? I think I'm holding on to it. I think I'm just escaping Kroxa here. If you're not familiar with who Thoughtseize is or why I'm glad that they've been banned, you should Google their name. One of the reasons why non-rotating formats, historically speaking, have been popular in Magic, in my opinion, is because people like playing Magic, but a lot of people don't play Magic religiously. People want to find a deck that they enjoy playing and then latch onto it from an emotional perspective. And they want to know that if they take, a month-long break from Magic the Gathering, that the deck that they love playing will still be playable when they come back to the game. EX Even, thank you for the brand new tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Welcome to Oglandia. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday wherever you're at. So, Kroxa attacking is going to take the last card out of their hand. Although now I can just make it deal damage. Let's do that. Hopefully this is a spell. Stunami, thank you for the 14 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. We'll do this. We'll attack for 9. There you go. Well, I think we beat, if looks like we're going to win this game 3, if we win this game 3, that means we beat Inverter, Breach, and Heliod combo. Ballista combo. Sure. It seems okay. I like a number of the things that are going on here. I think 3 Bedlams is probably too many. I think 2's probably fine. Thrill of Possibilities been really, really good, especially with Claim Fame and Fiery Temper. So I feel like I would get up to a 4th of this, probably cut a Bedlam and flip a Thrill over to that. I really don't like Delirium as an archetype. I think Delirium currently holds the title for the worst deck people play but shouldn't in this format. I don't know that this build is optimal, but this is a Thoughtseize Fatal Push deck that has creatures that kill people. So like it checks a lot of the boxes you want to check in this format, I feel like. That's the white-black enchantments deck. It's the most common Cave of Koilos deck in the format, I think. Yeah, I've never played with Delirium and been impressed, and I've never played against Delirium and been impressed. Cathartic Reunion, that's a lot. And like having to discard 2 cards is a lot. Why is Delirium bad? Because it doesn't close the game out particularly quickly. And it doesn't, if you look at the actual deck list, it doesn't actually have, Thoughtseize bug. It doesn't actually have that much, much disruption in it. And minimal amounts of disruption with a slow clock is not a good mix in this format that's heavily combo based. There's no Tarmogoyf in that deck. For lack of a better whatever. I think there's a good chance this Collective Brutality just misses if I cast it, so I'm just gonna play Pyromancer and pass here. Kroxa, like, we're gonna play the Black-Red Titan deck later today too. Like, Kroxa has been really impressive in multiple formats in terms of its closing power. Actually, you know what might be worth, you know what's probably worth exploring in here? I bet a couple copies of Tiamat Calls the Dead would probably go a long way in this deck. Like, helps fuel Bedlam Reveler, would help fuel, yeah, maybe Mire Triton. Could see that being okay. So, they can bring back the Scrap Heap, but I also think I don't just want to sit here and take hits. Wow, that's rude. They know about one of these Fiery Temperers, so... I'm gonna go ahead and kill this, and then next turn we can escape the Titan. They actually know about this one, I believe, so I want to play the one with the artwork that they saw. They have a 5-drop? Or do they have a 3 plus their 2? Another dog? Feels bad, man. Wait. That's just some good deck building right there. That's just some good, clean deck building right there. And they shocked in the land, so I assume they're gonna try and Scrap Heap Scrounger here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you love to see it, chat. You love... Oh, rats. They figured it out. They saw the line, chat. They saw the line. And they're out of cards now, right? Like, they just have the top of their deck. So, like, if I escape Kroxa next turn, unless the top of their deck is really good, we're pretty far ahead, right? And obviously I need to kill that because I want to get my Kroxa back here, but, like... Yeah, Doggo Symmetrical. It's Grafdigger Dog. Yep, Scraps does not block. If their hand isn't an instant speed piece of removal, they lose it here, so... Wow, they kept a land. They should have just played that, right? Because they should have known Kroxa was coming back. That's so annoying. Never lucky. Kroxa yells coffees for closers and other employees. Yeah, I believe it. Dr. Dre says... For those waiting for Historic, the Pioneer segment of today's stream is going to run long. We have a somewhat reasonable deck, so at the very least we're finishing this 4th match. God bless Hexa. You won't be missed, Bloomberg. Fabled Passage would be a good draw, so let's just escape Kroxa here. Kolaghan's Command. Yeah, that sounds great. So we'll put a stop on my opponent's draw step here. They're going to bring back Scrap Heap Scrounger, and then we will draw step, kill their Scrounger, make them discard a card. Okay. This looks like a Chandra and an Experimental Frenzy matchup. It's probably an Abrade matchup. For people asking about details on Todd Stevens being banned, we don't have official sources on that. Keep in mind that it is all speculative. He did change his Twitch name. Cordovas, thanks for the 7 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Impromptu Sword Day indeed. Let's get you on to go with that shield. Thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, it seems fine. Opponent's a Thoughtseize deck, so you mostly just want to keep hands with lands and spells. He says before he gets Thoughtseized. Took Dreadbore. Okay. If you've never used Let Me Google That For You before as a website, let me tell you. It is a treat. A true delight. It is peak millennial passive aggressive. Very, very much, hey, why don't you do this thing instead of asking me to do the thing for you? Make a token right away, maybe get in for 4 here. Means I don't get to hold up Fatal Push. Hopefully they don't have something like a Gideon next turn, since they took my Dreadbore. Oh no. Oh no, we're caught in a recursive loop, BMBot. Kalitas. Yep, it's a pretty good one. That's really good against this Dorko. Thrill plus Temper is great, I agree. Yep, if they kill one of our things, we get to kill the Kalitas, which is nice. They do, in fact, have Chad. Isn't Kroxa into push to get rid of Kalitas to play? No, ideally, I'd like to get rid of Kalitas without losing my Kroxa, I think. So if I Kroxa, they get a zombie, and I lose my Titan, which is not ideal. I'm gonna go ahead and do this and kill a Night Ally. Oh, I could shoot my own token and then push. That's a good line. I missed that. Bernie can still win the presidency. He is down on delegate count, but he is not out. He's close enough that he can make it up and still hit 51%. Wow. Why didn't they fatal push? That's wild. They're like shocked in the land and everything, right? I'm really confused. So they've got Gideon and Heart, but they have nothing left other than Gideon, Heart, and the zombie, right? And like I've still got some decent cards in my hand. Like this Bedlam Reveler looking okay. Again. Sure. It's a pretty good rip. Yeah, let's not refer to Buttigieg as that in my chat. Thank you. I know that's the first part of his name, but it's very easy to come off as. Fatal Push would be our best draw here, probably. So I think we just pass for now. That's pretty unfortunate. One good draw deserves another, though, I suppose. I actually really dislike Pete after how he ran his campaign. I think the way Pete Buttigieg ran his campaign showed that he is most of the things that are wrong with politics in the United States. He doesn't actually have any principles or things he believes in. When he pivoted his platform based on what he thought was more likely to get him votes, he lost any possible respect I could have had for him. And he was actually my second donation last year. I donated to Warren and Pete were my first two political donations of my life, actually. I had never donated to a political campaign before. But I believed what they said, and I thought that they believed what they said. But when they pivoted their positions afterwards, I think that it showed that their words were pretty hollow. I'm gonna go ahead and just fatal push one of these. This is gonna turn into a make my spells cost more in a second, so let's just like cast this before that happens. What did Warwick do to pivot her position? She walked back her position on Medicare for All, where she stood on it, and she walked back her position on taking Super PAC money. And then past that, she stayed in the primary longer than she should have, splitting the progressive vote. After she failed in the first 4 states, she should have dropped out before Super Tuesday, like Buttigieg and Amy did. Well, that one doesn't exile anything, so we've got that going for us. No, Pete was not always in Biden's lane. Pete positioned himself as a progressive. He positioned himself as someone who was pro-Medicare for All initially. Are they dead on board? If I attack with everything, they have 4 blockers. Well, that's definitely lethal, right? Because this does 3. This is just lethal with just Kroxa's trigger. You think it's ridiculous how 4 states get decided the path of the primaries? I don't think it's ridiculous at all. I think, in fact, until we have ranked choice voting, having a few states winnow it is important. Also, it's not just based on what those states say and do that winnows the primary. It's the projections as well. Like, I didn't think Warren should drop just based on those 4 states. I thought Warren should drop and Pete and Amy should drop based on those 4 states, plus the projections for Super Tuesday. Because the projections for Super Tuesday held true for a smaller candidate like Warren. She did not break the mold. So again, I think the people that are saying oh, well, people just shouldn't drop after the first 4, that's not all you're taking into consideration. Should we drop? I mean, we've technically been playing for almost an hour 45, which is what I like to do. So, if we get into a hopeless game, I'm probably going to pack it in early, but I'm going to try and see if we can hit the 5-0. Might as well. I give it a half-hearted attempt. I feel like I have some good feedback to give on things I would change or try different for next time, so it feels like a pretty successful run overall. I mean, Bernie did break the mold in a way. He got the DNC to rewrite a lot of their rules for the first round of voting, but also Bernie was winning states and doing better than Warren was this year. Mage, it's a completely different race, not comparable. Deck's clearly busted, yep. Are there any times Oct would have been better than Bedlam? I don't think so. I feel like Bedlam's been fine. I feel like 3 Bedlams is too many, but I think especially if we get up to 4 Thrill of the possibility, 2 Bedlams is probably fine. Sure, Bill Knight, but again, and that's the other thing. A lot of people are, projecting onto me, and they're saying, oh, you want Warren to drop because you think it helps Bernie. That's not why I want her to drop. I want her to drop because I want people to actually decide which of the 2 people that are the frontrunners get the nomination. I wanted Amy and Pete to drop as well, and I'm pretty sure them dropping hurt Bernie's chances. I'm just realistic. I just want people who don't have a realistic path to the nomination to get out of the way. And yeah, that system sucks, and yeah, it would be better if we have ranked choice voting, but we don't have ranked choice voting, and I live in reality, where I understand how this actually works. And I would love it if we could have a bunch of people stay in through the end, and we had ranked choice voting, and that would be much easier to have everything work out the way you want it to, very democratically, but that's not the reality we live in. And the reality we live in is that candidates voting for Elizabeth Warren in this primary is like voting for a third-party candidate in the general election. It is a vote for Joe Biden. When you vote for a third-party candidate, you are giving your vote essentially to the person who has the most votes. That's the reality. It sucks. I agree that it sucks, but I also am smart enough to understand that while I can say it sucks, I can say this sucks, but this is how it works, and you need to be realistic about how reality works. Anywho, what are we doing here? Am I supposed to? I feel like I'm supposed to just Thoughtseize to start. The problem with Thoughtseizing to start is that I don't generate Pyromancer tokens, but Pyromancer tokens also aren't super useful against spirits. I also don't think it's fair. I think the people who are just saying, oh, you take Elizabeth's votes and you add them to Bernie, I think that's incorrect as well. That's not how humans vote. Humans don't vote based on pure policy. Humans largely vote on things other than policy. Liliana the Last Hope is going to be very, very good here, most likely. Agree. Yes, I agree, Dallas. If people voted on pure policy, the GOP would never win an election. Sure, I agree. I agree that some number of them would have gone to Bernie. You drew Spell Pierce? God bless America. All right, I'm off it. I'm not gonna let this run long. Took the chance, got unlucky. I feel like I have feedback to give, so I'm gonna roll it off. Again, at the end of the day, I don't really care about the exact match results. We play decks for a set amount of time. We try and give feedback on them. If I felt like I was still concerned or like didn't have feedback to give, I'd probably scrap that out to try and get more information. But I feel like from a core deck perspective, I have some things I'd like to change. So in the initial start, I talked about being worried about Bedlam and Kroxa having some anti-synergy with each other. And while that's certainly the case, I felt like Last Hope and Thrill of Possibility both gave me reasonable ways to kind of churn through and like avoid that awkwardness a little bit. That being said, I think 3 Bedlams is probably too many. I think I'd go down to 2. Thrill of Possibility, especially in conjunction with Fiery Temper or Claim to Fame here, felt very reasonable, and I think I'd want to get up to a 4th copy of that. We didn't really get to draw. We didn't really get to draw things with Lightning Axe. We didn't really get to draw Lightning Axe, but I'm also like not super certain that Lightning Axe is a good inclusion in this deck. Like Lightning Axe is good in this format, and I've liked it in non-black based decks, but I kind of feel like people decks with Fatal Push and like Dreadbore and these other hard removal spells, this card is like not super necessary. So I think I would probably try and shy away from this. I'm not sure what exactly I'd want to include. Maybe some other type of threat in this archetype could be okay. Something to maybe test, for example, is Knight of the Ebon Legion. I think that could be a very apparently Knight of is a deep log card pool. Oh, that's speaking of Knight of Swift End could also be okay. Murderous Rider. This is another. I feel like I want one more threat in the deck, and Murderous Rider is probably a really good inclusion. Like Murderous Rider's like an answer threat split card. Yeah, things like Rabble Master could be okay. A couple people had talked about Big Dumb Dino, Rotting Regisaur. I feel like there's a good chance Rotting Regisaur is a little bit too clunky. Like, this deck does want to be holding hands in hand for answer some of the time, and I think Rotting Regisaur is a little bit awkward with that. Murderous Rider is notably a touch awkward with both Kroxa and Bedlam Reveler because it doesn't go to the graveyard. Rankle is one that could be reasonable too. We're going to try Rankle in the standard Black-Red Titan deck later today, and I think that could be a reasonable threat here as well. That's a card that could like enable our madness while generating value for it. I think Rankle, Rider, things like that. I don't think Phoenix of the Ash is a consideration just because I have Kroxa and Bedlam Reveler leveraging my graveyard already. I think if you want to go in a little bit different direction, like more like the standard build that we've played, you could try Tiamat Calls the Dead, Phoenix, but definitely Kroxa as a finisher surrounding these cards felt very, very reasonable. We've kind of entered the portion where people are just like shouting shitty cards at me at this point, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up with this one. As always, test lots of things. If you want to make suggestions, identify problems that they could be good at solving. We are going to hit a quick ad roll while I get set up for the next one. We're going to dive into Arena with some historic Kisis combo up next. And then we've got a couple of standard decks after that. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for hanging out today, folks. Happy Wednesday. Hey, Coogie. Thanks for the brand new tier 1 sub. Welcome to Hoaglandia. Hope you have a wonderful one wherever you are.